There is something that comes upon people when they are about to lose something very important. There is something that comes upon people when they are about to lose something important. How could they prophesy? How could they know and then still not pursue after the grace that was upon this man? And only one man, and Elijah had to pass through all these colleges. He would enter into that school through one gate with only Elisha and come out through another exit, and there were still only two people, himself and Elisha. And yet the rest of the guys knew that he was about to be taken. So it's a problem.
Welcome to Faith Surge channel. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. Shalom.
When you do a study and you do a follow-up on the school of the prophets, where there were these students that were coming and attending the school of the prophets, where they were being trained on not only how to hear the voice of God, but how to interpret the voice of God and how to present the voice of God to the people. So many things were happening at those schools. They were in different locations. And it's believed that there were more than even 3 schools of the sons of the prophets. And the people that were lecturing there were actually prophets. They needed to be prophets themselves before they could lecture on the prophetic. Because it's really a disaster when a person who can't hear and who can't interpret the voice of God begins to lecture on such a topic. Because, and you see, people are not afraid to do that. I've heard a lot of lessons on the prophetic from people that are non-prophetic. People that cannot hear God, they can't interpret the voice of God, and yet still they talk about this ministry. But you see, I also discovered a problem with the sons of the prophets, which is a problem that which is causing me to really want to think twice, because I didn't understand why these sons of the prophets were brought to a place in the spirit, whether through the lectures that they received, whether through some form of impartation that happened. But what happened is they were brought to a place of understanding where they could now see activities before even they would even happen. They were able now to prophesy. And they knew prophetically that Elijah, who was their principal, was about to be taken by God. I don't know how they saw it, whether it was through daylight revelations or whether it was vision, it was a dream, I don't know. But what I know is that they were informed by God. Their master's plan was exposed to them, maybe through a revelation or through a word or through a dream, but somehow they got to know that their master was going to be taken. And yet they never attempted to follow up on their principle. They didn't make a follow-up. They never pursued the prophet. Knowing that he was going to be taken, all they did was to prophesy about it and to advise Elisha that his master was going to be taken by the Lord. And they knew when. They said, today. and knowing that Elijah was going to depart, they never did anything to get an impartation from their master. Maybe it's because they had gotten it before, but we don't have any record of them moving into the supernatural, except that they prophesied that their master was going to be taken or their father was going to be taken. And only one person, Elisha, who was not even part of those students, pursued, and he went after the mantle until he got it. And receiving a mantle from Elijah, it means that no one else was given that mantle. And that mantle was never going to be given to anyone. And Elijah was ready to go. With his mantle, he was now going to be taken. And the rest of these guys were just following from a distance, and they were just looking, and I don't know what they were thinking. But even as Elisha was coming back, they were waiting afar off, just observing what was happening, but they never pursued Elijah. And they never got the mantle from Elijah. Why it would be just one person pursuing? That tells you that, you see, there is something that comes upon people when they are about to lose something very important. There is something that comes upon people when they are about to lose something important. How could they prophesy? How could they know and then still not pursue after the grace that was upon this man? And only one man, and Elijah had to pass through all these colleges. He would enter into that school through one gate with only Elisha and come out through another exit, and there were still only two people, himself and Elisha. And yet the rest of the guys knew that he was about to be taken. So it's a problem. I don't know what made those guys to end up developing that level of maybe spiritual ignorance. I don't know. Whether it was from the topics that they were taught, or maybe from the enrollment system, how they were selected. So even up to now, I'm wondering if we are to ever have the school of the prophets. I'm still wondering on the criteria. How do we select? How do we choose? Is it every leader who should attend the school of the prophets? Is it every person who so desires to prophesy that should attend? Are we not supposed to have a selection process where even before we start teaching on the prophetic, we have to prophesy the people that should be taught? And if we are to do that, because, you know, who doesn't want to prophesy? All of us, we want to prophesy. But the problem is this now with the school of the prophets. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. They were introduced to one level of hearing God through the ministration of the teaching that they were getting on how to prophesy, but they never pursued after the mantle. They never. So what you get as we do this is the basics, information that can help you to begin to comprehend some few things about what God is saying. But you'd need to get a mantle. You'd need to get an impartation at some point. And it is that mantle and that impartation that will move you to a greater level in the prophetic. And you will leave the rest of the people at a lower level of the prophetic.